All right, so we are back for the second week in a row, believe it or not. And you know what a difference a week makes. How was your week? Week since the last time we met to talk about current events. Any fun things happen?
Oh yeah, I actually got a new job. I'm doing I'm doing caregiving right now for an old guy.
Ah, nice. How's that working out for you?
It's doing pretty good. It's funny is the guy's Catholic, so um,
Yeah.
I was working the weekend and I had to go to a mass and a Sunday service, right?
Okay.
And I tell you, it was pretty weird. It was pretty weird. I've never.
Now, you've never been to like a Catholic mass or anything like that?
No, I've
I'm
never
assuming.
been to a Catholic church ever, not once. And it was
Okay.
something I tell you. It was just so weird because my parents were raised as Jehovah's Witnesses, right? Jehovah's Witnesses is more like studying for the Bible instead of like, doing like the best I can describe is rituals. Because they're like chanting and they're repeating stuff. It's just so weird.
You're talking about the Catholic Church, not the witness.
No, yeah, I'm talking about the Catholic Church. Yeah, they're doing rituals and stuff, and it's weird. It really it's something I've never experienced before. But what about you? How was your weekend?
My weekend was fairly tame. Nothing really big happened. I got together with the group. We played some D&D on Sunday.
Oh, nice.
So that was fun, having a new group, running them through some stuff. The adventure I ran them through, I think they all very much enjoyed it, or at least I hope they did. So, yeah, I count it as a win.
Yeah. Were you DMing it?
Yeah, I was running the game.
Nice.
And then after that, just Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday just kind of flew by because it was just work is work.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But I would say that it was a pretty much a completely uneventful week, but two really big things happened this week.
Oh, yeah.
And that, of course, is we had our current president give his farewell address on Tuesday, the 10th of January, and our president-elect, Donald Trump, gave his first press conference since being elected and confirmed on January 11th, which is the day that we're recording this. So if something happens on January 12th or after that you're hearing this, just, that's the historical context that we have there.
Yep.
So let's just start off, man. I'm assuming you, like me, watched both of these things. What are your thoughts? So what are your thoughts on the last time we hear a speech from Barack Obama?
I don't know, man. It just felt empty to me. It really did.
Empty.
He said a lot of stuff that I knew wasn't true. He talked about progressive stuff like income inequality, climate change. I mean, I'm not saying Obama's record on climate change is bad, but it could have been a lot better. A lot better. You know that too. You're a supporter of climate change as well, or supporter of helping stop climate change, not of climate change.
Yeah, I'm a big supporter of climate change. I mean, screw the polar bears.
Right.
Fuck them. Sorry.
Fuck the polar bears.
Yeah, no. To me, it's weird because I've never been a big Barack Obama supporter. I've always kind of been of the mind that he seems like a nice guy who genuinely wants to do the right thing. Although obviously I disagree with him on what the right thing would be. So to me, it was a little bittersweet because he gives a great speech. He's a great communicator.
Yeah.
You could say, he has a
is,
great way of delivering his lines. You take him off a teleprompter and all bets are off. But while he has a speech, He's delivering a speech that's been written.
Well,
He's great.
You could go back to when he did those small rallies that he did, like back when his campaign in 2008 was really smaller. He did pretty well. He was actually, in my mind, he was a lot better. He was a lot more authentic when he wasn't using teleprompter. Because
but I think it gets to the point, where you start delivering a message to such a massive amount of people, and you gotta and you have a message and you want to stay on message, and I think that's kind of the downfall of a lot of politicians. I personally, I will miss his way of giving a speech, even though I won't miss the content of his speeches. And we'll get to Trump here in a little bit, but there's a clear-cut difference in Barack Obama giving a speech versus someone else giving a speech. I'll miss hearing Barack Obama speak, but I won't miss the content of his speeches because, there were times when I was listening to this that I could almost nod along and be like, okay, yeah, I get where he's coming from. But then I stopped and I would think about what he said, and he's the master of veiled swipes at people he doesn't like, and I think a lot of it was really for an outgoing speech, just go out on a high note. I don't know. What'd you think of?
He's good at giving a progressive message. I will say that, but doing progressive things just doesn't work for him. He's kind of like. What is it? What is the guy from American Idol? The black guy from American Idol, like the original American Idol.
Randy Travis? Not Randy Travis. It was Randy something. I can't remember.
Yeah, I know.
I'm too lazy to
Google. I think Alex knows who we're talking about. But he's like, nah, dog, that ain't for me.
So you're saying what you're saying is you think that Barack Obama may have been a little bit disingenuous?
Yes, because he advocated against war, but he's dropped more bombs than almost any president we know. Right? He's one of the most hawkish presidents, almost ever. Right? He could have gotten universal health care with Obamacare. He could have, and that
mean
part
single payer. When you say universal, I just want to make sure that we're clear. When you say universal healthcare, you mean single payer health, like a single payer healthcare plan across the country.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you get healthcare when you pay taxes, and your kids get healthcare automatically.
Okay.
And stuff like that. So anyway, he could have. This pisses me off about when I heard this part about healthcare. He's just boasting about his healthcare plan. I'm like, you're boasting about a right-wing policy, and you're trying to act like you're progressive. And for our listeners who haven't listened to the first episode, the Affordable Care Act was based on a policy that was proposed by Richard Nixon that got shut down by Democrats when he was in office.
Now
it was the public mandate.
Now, as a fun aside, I actually spent my day because today in the Senate they were actually voting on budget amendments for 2017, and in some of those amendments, there were provisions to begin the steps to repeal Obamacare. So obviously, I was listening to that today on C-SPAN because I'm a giant nerd for politics, and one of the first people that I heard talk today, they had the big placard out, and they basically ran down, that Obamacare is a Republican plan, and you're right, a lot of the stuff that's in the Affordable Care Act is stuff that has been put forth by multiple previous Republican legislators. Now, that being said, as much as I really wish the Republican Party could get their stuff together, I don't toe the party line. I don't care who put it forth. There's some really bad ideas in it. We went over this. We went over this before. Pre-existing conditions is a great thing because it helps with mental health care. that previously,
Yep.
people weren't able
Yeah.
to get. But beyond that,
And cancer patients, and
yeah,
and like it's like terminal illness. That's really what it's for. If you got if you got a cold, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna get health care now. You have to wait a month, so it doesn't work like that. But if you have terminal illness, then yes, you can get help.
I mean, if you have cancer, you shouldn't be denied treatment options by your insurance company. I mean, the way I've always viewed it is I'm paying this insurance company money, and they're providing me a service. You go to any business, like if you go to a restaurant and you pay them money to have them make you a sandwich. If you say, hey, I don't want lettuce, or can you double up on the meat with that, they might charge you a little bit more. But at the end of the day, they're a business. They're there to serve the customers.
Yeah, you're getting that sandwich the way you ordered it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, or you go somewhere else.
Exactly, yeah.
But
the fact of the matter is, you're asking. But if I want to use your analogy, it's basically like asking for ribeye on a burger, and you can't get it anywhere because no one's going to give you a ribeye steak on a burger. But then the regulation comes forth saying, okay, yeah, you have to give them ribeye on a burger, even if it costs $30 more.
Yeah.
I
mean, from a business standpoint, why wouldn't you want to take the opportunity to charge somebody more and get more money? Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. I'm just going to make a quick point here. Healthcare companies get a boner for the Affordable Care Act because it requires you to have health insurance.
Yeah.
So if you couldn't afford health insurance, you get a fine, right? If you didn't want health insurance because you thought you were just a healthy guy, you just thought like you live in a bunker somewhere and you just don't go anywhere. You're just like, well, I'll never get my leg broken or anything or get sick. I'm just not going to get health care, or I'm just going to wait until I get Medicaid when I'm 65, right? Then the insurance company could make money off of you. But now they can make money off of 20 million more Americans. That opens up their customer base so much. And when people say it hurts the health insurance companies, it really doesn't.
Well,
it really helps them a lot.
I mean, a lot of them were on board until the marketplace started to fail, and then the mandate that everyone had to get health insurance, but that was good. But then most people were like, well, the fine, I can pay the fine. That's less than shelling out for. That's less than my premiums for health insurance because the premiums are going through the roof. It turned into a big thing, and I don't want to turn this into another hour and a half long rant on healthcare.
We went through healthcare extensively in our last episode.
And the good news is the idea of repealing and replacing Obamacare is going to make its way through, so we'll have plenty of opportunity to talk about it in the future, and our dear viewers will have plenty opportunity to email us and leave messages on our Facebook to communicate with us their thoughts on healthcare. So the discussion's going to keep going forward. But just I guess overall thoughts of the Barack Obama farewell speech. For me, I'll go just because I'm yapping away. I'll miss hearing him give his speeches, but I won't miss hearing him talk about things because I would much rather hear someone like Bernie Sanders speak about progressive policies than Barack Obama, just because I think Bernie Sanders is somebody who gets the idea behind those progressive policies a little bit better.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Like what we need healthcare for everybody. We need $15 an hour. Yeah. Universal education.
Yeah.
We're gonna pay for it. We're gonna. I'm waving my arms out like
you gotta have the crazy hair.
We need to make universal education happen. And I'm done. I'm not gonna make one of Bernie Sanders and watch my boy.
No. Speaking of Bernie Sanders, I was listening to C-SPAN, and a lot of things that he was, a lot of things that he brought out, a lot of the points he made, and I think I see why he didn't get the Democratic nod, because a lot of the points that he was making about healthcare, how to improve healthcare, are points that Republicans have been making. Specifically, Donald Trump has made these points. Increase competition across state lines for health insurance. Don't let these health insurance companies get monopolies in regions. Negotiate prices with pharmaceutical companies. We're the only country in the world that doesn't negotiate our pharmaceutical prices, and we get completely raked over the coals because of it. And
exactly.
His third point, which I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I really agree with Bernie Sanders of all people about this. But the idea that
he's coming to the light side.
You stop that. That's not happening. But he made a point. If you want steak or fish from Canada or from China, you can buy steak or fish from another country, and you can import it in. We can't import our medicine into this country, and that's ridiculous. For a country that is so based on capitalism, competition, and the free market, that we lash ourselves to these really centralized ideas, it hurts my soul to think about it. And I'm hoping, because these are a lot of points that Donald Trump has put forth. So I'm really hoping that once Trump gets in, using his cabinet, he can maybe leverage, because I'm thinking a lot of the Democrats are going to finally say, hey, okay, Hillary didn't work. Let's start towing that Bernie Sanders party line. And maybe, between the two of them, even if both sides don't get everything they want, the really good ideas they agree on, we can get put through and make this country a little bit a healthier place.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders has said that he will work with Trump whatever he agrees with him on. If it's infrastructure spending, if it's improving healthcare in a way that doesn't hurt the average American, if he wants to bring jobs back to America, renegotiate trade deals, he will work with him. And that's the thing is, those aren't Republican or Democratic ideas. I want the audience to get this point. Those are populist ideas. You have to understand, Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump are populist. The only thing is, Bernie Sanders is a left-leaning populist and Donald Trump is a right-leaning populist. We're seeing a three-dimensional shift in politics nowadays, where it's not just, actually, I wouldn't even say three-dimensional, it's two-dimensional, because you have people just saying left and right. That's one-dimensional. That's one direction, right? So we're seeing a two-dimensional stretch into our politics nowadays. It's for the better, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I hope that if nothing else, maybe this will be the end of the party system as we have it. In Australia, they have something like 20 different parties. We have 2. It's just like, how do we're supposed to be the bastion of democracy, and we limit our choices. Like, if we could get rid of these antiquated notions of a Republican and Democrat Party and move and start weighing our candidates based on, where they lean, as far as, where are they with the populist segment, with the nationalist segment, how do they feel versus centralized versus decentralized, governments, individualist versus collectivist cultures. Let's really start to abstract out where people's stances are, instead of just, he has an R or a D next to his name, let me just vote down the ballot. That's...
I don't agree with him because of the letter next to his name.
Yeah, you don't know.
That's basically how it works.
Yeah, you don't know. Shoot, maybe that wacky Republican that CNN is saying is racist, maybe he has some good ideas. You probably won't agree with everything he says, but you might agree with a couple of things, and those couple things might be really good. And same thing, if you're really conservative, maybe listen to the guy who says he's a socialist. You might agree with him on some things, but
yeah, that's really what Republican obstructionism was about. It was about just hating him for the sake of hating him, because he wasn't them. You know what I mean? He wasn't their party, so they were paid to work against him. But now that the Republicans got what they want, maybe we can start working on them with issues that some of us agree on.
I would hope that what I'm going to tell you, what I really hope is, I hope that the Donald Trump administration, his cabinet, I hope they come in. I hope they wreak house on the Republican establishment as well. Because as much as we want to bash the Democrats for picking Hillary over Bernie, for running the weaker the candidate, Republicans have been doing that for years. Let's not forget this past election cycle, the Republican donors, they would have put Jeb Bush Can you imagine Jeb Bush versus Hillary Clinton if those were our choices?
Please clap. Please clap.
I mean, as bad as people want to say Donald Trump versus Hillary was, okay, so your choices
That
are
made me cry.
a sociopath or a wet noodle. Then, you know, like, shoot me, like
What? Or a robot, or like an actual demon.
Like, I mean,
sleazy slime ball.
Jeb was about as bad at communicating his ideas in a genuine fashion as Hillary was.
He had the backbone of a jellyfish.
Like, just it's hard to think that Jeb Bush is the older brother of George W. Bush. You know, I mean,
he got kicked out of a Rotary Club, man. A Rotary Club. They're kicking me out. They're kicking me out. What am I gonna do? You want to be president. And this is what happened. Okay, whatever, man. Jeb Bush, whatever.
for all of George W. Bush's failings, he was at least a dynamic leader. You know, at least when something bad happened, you know, you could get behind him. You know, and same thing. Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. You know, because don't speak ill of the dead, or I mean, he's not dead, but you know, his presidency is. You know, if something on the level of 9/11 had happened, you know, I really think that Barack Obama would have been a great guy to give that speech to unite the country, to say, look, these are dark times, and America, we're going to come together. You know, fortunately, that never happened, because this country can only take so many, you know, terrorist attacks. But
so he made that point at the end. He's like, yes, we can. Yes, we did. And I'm just thinking, I don't think we really did.
You're kind of like wondering, did what? Again. Cause,
did what?
Well, you know, he did have a completely scandal-free presidency, as long as you don't count Jeremiah Wright, Eric Holder, Fast and Furious. Yeah. Well, but yeah, moving forward. Because 8 years of bashing this previous administration is enough for me. I want to move forward. I want to look to the future, and we got I think the most honest glimpse as to what our next 4 years as a Donald Trump presidency are going to be, because he held his first press conference since being elected and being confirmed as the 45th president of the United States. And we were talking a little bit earlier, and I think you watched it / listened to it, and you had some questions about this. Now, I think I had a completely different takeaway, so I want to get your thoughts on it, and then I'll go in and we can compare notes.
Now, I had some time to watch the highlights. I didn't watch the whole thing, unfortunately. But I saw an extended highlight. It was like 20 minutes long. So it's kind of scaring me a little bit, because this guy, I've just been thinking, okay, man, just wrap it up. Let's get to work. Let's be a president already. Be professional. Be a president. And he rambled on about cameras in hotel rooms, which I had no idea what the hell he was talking about. It just threw me off so much, and I'm like, he's like, be careful, because there's cameras in foreign hotel rooms. I'm like, does this really make any point to what you're talking about? Like, fill me in here. Do you know what he was talking about there?
Yeah. Well, that particular moment, that was actually in direct response to a question from a reporter, because they were going over the whole. They were going over the whole leak that had come out. I think it was yesterday or the day before. You know, for the information leak that was saying that Donald Trump was traveling to Prague and having Russian hookers pee on each other in a bed that Barack Obama had seen. It's such an off the wall story that I'm surprised that anyone ran with it. But of course BuzzFeed did, because they're BuzzFeed. So it was a direct response to a question they asked about. You know, when you travel abroad, how do you feel that you represent the American public. It was something like that. And so he was basically saying that he always tells his bodyguards and his entourage that when they're out traveling outside the country to be careful. And I think the point he was trying to get across there was that, people are always watching because he's such a high-profile character. Now, the way he...
Yeah, because he's the freaking president.
Well, I mean, even before that, he's a celebrity. I mean, the way he phrased it could have been better. I feel like I'm going to be saying that a lot over the next 4 years. Like, here's what I think he meant. He could have phrased it a little bit better.
He could have phrased it a little better.
Yeah.
He's no Obama on phrasing things.
Call space. Well, he refuses to use a teleprompter, and I don't think he can. I don't think he can read a speech from a teleprompter, and I'm not sure if that's going to be a failing or a strength. But because there was a couple times when he was campaigning when he had a teleprompter up, and his delivery was just so wooden and false, and then he stopped using it, and you could tell the difference. It's like night and day. And it was like, Oh man, I hope that the time doesn't come when he has to deliver very specific information to the American people. Because
he will make State of the Union addresses
completely off the cuff.
Just think about that. Exactly. Think about this for a second. He will make State of the Union addresses, and they're like, "Okay, Mr. Trump, here's your." Here's your script. He goes, I don't need it. I got this. Hold my beer.
No, hold on. All right. First of all, Donald Trump would not say "hold my beer." That is a George W. Bush move. All right, hold my 9/11. Hold my beer, and then off to Iraq to fight the terrorists. We're gonna get
the terrorists.
The
Al Qaeda's.
We're gonna find out who did this, and we're gonna get them. God, I miss that cavalier attitude. Well, we kind of have it back, but I think Donald Trump would be more like, hold my Chardonnay, hold my Sauvignon Blanc,
hold my Chardonnay,
hold my hold my Coke,
according to him, he doesn't.
My Jack and Coke. Yeah,
according to him, he doesn't drink, so it would be like. Hold my Diet Coke. I got this.
Now,
I got this. I'm gonna make a terrific speech. It's gonna be fantastic.
Gonna be the best speech.
It's gonna be the best speech you've ever heard in your life.
Gonna be the best speech. A lot of people, they tell me you make great speeches. They're the best speeches. The best speeches.
People tell me I make the best speeches. They tell me. I have friends that tell me I make the best speeches.
Let me ask you a question though, because you bring up a good point. All right. What does Donald Trump... So you're Donald Trump, right? You're sitting down, ready to have your burger, your taco bowl. What do you drink as Donald Trump? Do you think he drinks a diet? Because he doesn't strike me as a diet guy. But then, I have a hard time thinking that he drinks soda as well. What do you think Donald Trump drinks? What is Donald Trump beverage of choice?
Vitamin water, probably.
Vitamin. Oh God, you're probably right. He would drink vitamin water. He looks like a vitamin water guy.
Or if you drink water, he's drinking Fiji water, like a. Oh God.
No, Donald Trump has his own water. So if he's drinking water, he's drinking Trump water.
He's drinking Trump water. God damn it.
Yeah.
Oh God, man.
But
I'm trying not to be scared about the next 4 years.
Nah, I think it's gonna be. I'm not scared. Because Donald Trump did something today that I wish that politicians would have done a long time ago. And, I mean, he shut down CNN so hard today. I mean, I'm sure you saw this, but so there's a reporter from CNN was bringing up the the leak that we were talking about earlier that's been completely debunked. It's not true. There's not a shred of evidence to it. In fact, there's been screen caps from 4chan.
Told you!
There's screen caps from 4chan basically saying that this is an entire hoax, that's like elaborate trolling plan. 4chan, you've gone off the rails. You underestimated your power level. Please stop.
No, you've overestimated your power level. You're not that powerful.
No, but I mean they are though. I mean they got BuzzFeed and CNN to report on a troll on a troll attempt, on a successful troll. So this the CNN reporter, he brings it up, and Trump just shuts him down. He's like, no, it's fake news. BuzzFeed is a failed pile of garbage. CNN, you're terrible. You're not even reporting the right things. And then the CNN reporter, basically says, well, if you're gonna, he's trying to get this out. He's like, well, if you're gonna trash CNN, at least let me ask a question to follow up. And Trump was like, no, you don't. You're fake news. You don't get a question. I'm going to somebody else. And he kept trying to talk over another reporter, and Trump just kept shutting him down. Said, don't be rude. She's got the question. And it took a while, but the whole time listening to this, I'm like, yes, yeah, because the press has failed at speaking truth to power. They, depending on whether you're at Fox News or MSNBC or CNN, they are the propagandists for their side. Fox News is the propagandists for the Republican Party. MSNBC, CNN, they're propagandists for the Democratic Party, and it needs to stop.
It's sad. I actually think Fox News does better reporting than CNN does. Even though I disagree with almost everything Fox News says, they do better reporting than CNN does. I can't help it. Their debates are better. They ask better questions at their debates. I mean, if they're interviewing a Republican, it's like, what kind of drink do you like? Where do you like to take your wife to dinner? Like that, literally so soft. He's literally throwing a ball like a ball of cotton at him, like the softest of softball questions. But they it's hard for me to say that they do that, but they do better reporting than CNN, in my opinion, because CNN is just a joke.
I was gonna say, did I ever tell you why I started watching Fox News in the first place?
No,
because I used to never watch Fox News, and then when I broke my arm a few years back, I was laid up in the hospital. There's only like 3 things you can watch when you're in the hospital. Anyone who's been in the hospital can attest to this. You have CNN, Fox News, and ESPN. Those are the only things that you're watching in the hospital because they have like the most stripped down bare bones cable package. Yeah. In the hospital. So I'm sitting there, I'm watching CNN. I'm switching between CNN, MSNBC,
or
right?
PBS. They have PBS, don't they?
I guess. I don't know. PBS. So I'm sitting there, I'm switching between CNN and MSNBC, watching the news, because again, I'm a nerd for politics and current events. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to switch over to Fox News. I'm going to see what they're covered. Because it's one of those things where it's like, I've heard so much about how bad Fox News is and how super conservative and racist it is. But you know what? I'm going to find out for myself. I'm one of those people. I like to find out for myself. So I'm like, I'm going to switch over to Fox News. Fox News was the only station covering the Deepwater Horizon spill. The only one. Wolf Blitzer had a small little part on CNN at one point. But Fox News is basically doing 24-hour coverage of it. And I mean, the biggest ecological disaster, I want to say in history, it may have been, or at least in like 20 years, something like that. And nobody was covering it but Fox News. And I was like, it hit me. I was like, you know what? Fox News, I'm watching this because they're actually reporting what's happening. I mean, they're not perfect. They have Bill O'Reilly.
I watch Bill O'Reilly, and Bill O'Reilly gives me a headache. It makes me sick to my stomach.
I think he tries to be wrong.
He tries so hard to act like an asshole.
He succeeds.
It's hilarious. So what you say?
He succeeds. Because he says the most outlandish, dumb stuff, and you're just like, why? Where's that coming from? And then, like, when you see him try to justify his statements, he looks like someone who knows what he's saying is wrong but can't walk it back, and so he just tries to come up with more elaborate and outlandish things to justify.
Gone this far, might as well keep going.
Yeah, I was like, I don't watch Bill O'Reilly. Not a Bill O'Reilly fan. I try to just tell people, look, he's a muckraker. All right, that's his job. His job is to make people mad. If you don't want him to make you mad, just don't pay attention to him. Yeah.
But there was something in Trump's press conference that really, really worried me, I mean, you liked how he handled the press. I was scared how he handled the press. Because that's a very big bedrock of our democracy, is reporters challenging authority and asking hard-hitting questions. And the thing is, whenever Donald Trump's asked a hardball question, he that's where he's weakest, because he's not used to that. Through this entire campaign, and he has been hit with hard-hitting questions. But if you just look at the Democratic base, the general election debates, he got hit hard-hitting questions, and he just started getting gassed out. He started rambling on and on and on, and he lost track of what he was saying.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's much substance there. You
don't think he has. You don't think he has concrete answers for those. Very specific
he knows
questions.
The talking points, but to actually enact what he's talking about, he doesn't really understand it. Like take for instance during the general election question when he was asked about how you would replace Obamacare. He's asking about the state party lines thing. He rambled on for like 5 or 7 minutes about that.
Yeah.
And it didn't add to his point at all.
Yeah. I think at that point anyone who had been paying attention to his platform kind of understood, okay, yeah, increase competition by removing the state line restrictions. But I'm just gonna say I think that's really a failing with the debate formats that we use, because it's like, hey, how would you address the eternal conflict in the Middle East? You have 20 seconds, go. Like, you can't even begin to address that question in 20 seconds.
It took us 30 minutes to answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even. We just kind of we did a quick little recap, and it was like, hey, here are some things. If you listen to part 3 of our first episode, about half of that, it's an hour long, and about half of it is just talking about conflict between Israel and the Palestinians. And that's not even taking into account the conflict between the Sunni and the Shia Muslims. It's a mess over there.
It is. Long story short, my quick sentence, my viewpoint was apply American ethics and the right ethics and setting the example, and then leaving it be. That's where my stance was. And if you didn't listen to last week's episode,
well, don't tell them in this episode, because they need to go and listen to it.
Oh, there's a lot more in there, I tell you.
But back to Trump though. Because I think you were saying that you don't think there's a lot of substance.
Yes,
there to his points.
And what happens when you have these strongmen in power, when you start questioning their knowledge, and you start questioning them in general, like you're just not buying what they're saying, they start getting angry and they start cracking down. And now he's the most powerful man on earth. That's really scary to me. When you start cracking down on freedom of speech, that's the bedrock. That is the first bed. That's why it's the First Amendment. It's the bedrock of our democracy. He's talked about opening up libel laws to be able to sue people when they say things he doesn't like. That's not okay. Not okay.
Yeah, but see, I would debate that he is shutting down freedom of speech, because there's one thing between saying, okay, the press can't report things that are not favorable to the person in power, like you see in countries like Cuba, for example, when Castro was in power. And there's there's a difference between that and then saying, I'm not going to answer a question about something that's already been proven patently false. I really think that's more along the lines of what Trump did in his press conference, that he just said, because he answered every other question. Every other question that was lobbed at him, he answered it to the best of his ability, I believe, I hope, except for that one, just because, I put myself in his shoes, and I gotta say, I probably would be the same way. It's like, how many times are you gonna ask me this dumb question about this thing that has been completely buried? I'm sorry that you reported something that you shouldn't have, but we're ready to move on as a country.
But the thing is, this isn't an isolated incident. When he was doing his rallies, there was the Young Turks, their YouTube channel. They're one of like the biggest news channels on YouTube. They have an investigative reporter named Jordan Sheridan. He would go to the Trump rallies and cover them. You know, one of the only reporters that actually, well, not actually, that's not true, but I mean, actually objectively reporting on the Trump rallies instead of just looking at an empty podium.
Yeah.
But he would talk to people. He would like talk to Trump voters and stuff like that. And he got a press room because there's a press room in those rallies. If they didn't like you, they kicked you out of those press rooms. And like he got kicked out of those press rooms because he asked a hard question. And it's just kind of scary. Because my philosophy is hope for the best but prepare for the worst. And preparing for the worst means understanding that that's what dictators do. That's a very sharp point to make, but it's not untrue.
Well, I mean, okay, so we've had some fun, but I mean, real talk though. Do you see Donald Trump being someone that could become a dictator? I won't even deign to say would, because I believe that the mechanisms that we have in the system in our country would not allow that to happen.
Well, if he can get because there are two or three other SCOTUS members, Supreme Court nominee or Supreme Court seats that could be up for grab in his presidency, and I think those three are left-leaning Supreme Court justices, and if he can get those and stack the Supreme Court, he could get whatever he wants. And that's just scary to me, because then he'll have the law on his side, the Senate, the House, the Supreme Court, and the executive branch. That's a lot of power. And for someone like Donald Trump, I can see that going to his head very easily. And I'm scared. I hope in 2020 we will have a meaningful election, but there's this dark part of my mind that thinks that he might try to manipulate it.
Well,
because he has so much power now.
To that point, I would say that that sentiment is exactly what your far right said about Barack Obama for 8 years. Oh, he's a demo. Oh, he's got the Senate and the House. Oh, he's got all this charisma. He's going to take our guns. He's going to declare martial law before the next election. I mean, every single crazy conspiracy theory, you saw come out about Barack Obama, and he's a Muslim, and he's going to bring Sharia law to America, and tear up the Constitution, and blah blah blah, and all this nonsense. So, I would say any president, any person of significant power in this country, could maybe become a dictator, but I don't think will. I mean, and that's not to say that this country can never see a dictatorship, because it could happen. It's happened across the world in many different countries over history.
It's happened in almost every single in almost every single society. Yeah. And most times it's come also from a democratic system. And we're running on almost 300 years with that not happening.
Yeah. Well, so, I think a lot of that speaks to the power of our system. The checks and balances that we have. Because I mean, let's say that the Republican Party keeps the Senate and the House, and they can stack the Supreme Court with nothing but yes men that will just pass through whatever they want. Even if they do, there's still mechanisms for for impeachment, or for removal of powers, through the legislative branch. And should all else fail, we are the most armed population in the world, and all it would take, to lose the will of the people. And any dictatorship, any totalitarian regime requires the will of the people behind it. All it would take is, for those simple liberties to start eroding away, and you would see a groundswell from the population of this country. And it wouldn't even necessarily have to be violent, but I mean, as you can see, our population, when there's something going on that we don't like, we will get out and we will demonstrate. We will march in the street. We will make things uncomfortable for people. And typically that's all it takes in this country to see change. It's like, okay, you're making the system uncomfortable. It's not working anymore. It's time to change. But that being said, I don't think Trump would become a dictator, because
he might be too incompetent for it. Because it would take a lot.
He's a
It would take a lot.
He's a bombastic personality, but I don't think that deep down that idea of becoming a literal god emperor, I don't think that's something that we would have to worry about. Donald, just like I didn't think that it was something that we would have to worry about from Barack Obama. I mean, the idea of having total power, total unlimited power, sure, it's appealing to anyone, but the road to that is so impossibly steep. I mean, it's not. It would take. I mean, it would take more. Plus, you have all the generals and the armed forces. It just doesn't seem like it's a feasible thing. And Donald Trump did something that will back up my point, though, because during his press conference, he basically divested himself of all his business holdings and put it into a trust. Like, his sons are basically going to run his entire business empire, and going up to and beyond.
Yeah, with his oldest son being the senior advisor, and his daughter being included in business dealings with Japan. Yeah, he's like, here, hold my money, but I'm still going to tell you what to do with it.
No, but he's not, though. I mean, he's removed himself completely from the management of these businesses. So, I mean, I think that just speaks more to... I think that speaks to his character.
I'll believe it when I see it. If it turns out... I am leaning toward the fact that he is saying that he's divested, but he's just letting someone hold it while he tells them what to do with it.
Well, I mean, think of it this way. He's 70 years old. What better way to retire? He finishes up... Let's say he doesn't get reelected. 4 years as president, and his kids are running all his businesses. He can retire and just be like, you know what? Hey, I'm going to chill out on a beach somewhere. That's not a bad way to go out.
I kind of hope that he kind of gasses out. Like, I think I hope he runs, because I think Bernie... I know Bernie could beat him, and I got a little point to make. Here in a minute about that. But I hope he runs again, because I think Bernie can beat him. But I have a little bit of a hunch that he might not, because he'll just be like, "Yeah, I got 4 years. I mean, it's whatever. I won. I'll just let some other Republican take over." But also, yeah, I was gonna make a point. So Bernie Sanders did a town hall, and he made some points, and he said there was a person who asked him, "Do you think you're going to run in 2020?"
Butt said yes.
And this is what he said. This is what I'm gonna quote.
Okay.
I'm gonna quote him. Quote. It's too early to talk about that.
Wow.
Unquote. So I'm thinking, is there a time where we could talk about that?
I mean, probably 2019. Well, given how long the American election cycle runs, I would say that you're probably going to hear rumblings about who would run against Trump in 2020 from the Democratic side as early as 2018, which is next year. I understand this, but our election cycles are ridiculously long. The last election cycle was, what, a year and a half of campaigning?
Yeah,
It's
about
absurd.
that. But
It's
he's basically he's celebrity status now. He is at the point that Hillary Clinton was in when she first ran for president. Everybody knows who Bernie Sanders is. Everybody knows who Bernie Sanders is. If anybody has any little inclination of politics, they know who Bernie Sanders is. And the more you listen to him, the more you like him. So he still has an entire base of people who will donate money at $27 at a time. So he still won't take big money interests. So we might see a candidate who wins the presidency without a single dollar from special interests.
yeah, but I think we've already seen that.
What do you mean?
Mr. Donald Trump.
He got $700 million from special interests.
No. Did he or did the Republican Party?
No, he
Because
did.
remember, after
He got that money for his campaign.
directly to the Donald Trump campaign, or are we talking like PACs and super PACs?
Well, that counts. PACs and super PACs count. That's what's counted in Hillary Clinton's total as well. But PACs and super PACs.
Well, we all know she took money from Saudi princes, so.
Yeah, I mean, PACs and super PACs run campaign ads and help organize ground operations as well. And
Yeah.
we'll run internet ads. I saw a lot of internet ads for Trump. I saw a lot of internet ads for Hillary Clinton. But the reports have come out that he did take big money donors because I don't think he's as rich as he says he is. So he had to take money. But anyway, I'm getting a little off track here. So
As we do.
as we do, yeah. He hasn't ruled out 2020, so I'm pretty happy about that. But he might endorse someone else, maybe Elizabeth Warren or something like that. But like I said, he has the celebrity status. He has the policy that Americans like. He has that base of supporters who will give him the money he needs. So I'm just really excited about that, and I just hope. I think he says it's too early to talk about it because he wants to focus on midterms. Because he has his own organization, I think it's called Our Revolution or something like that, and he basically supports small and upcoming politicians to get into the political process, like for school boards, Senate seats, and he does Senate seats, House seats, stuff like that. And
that's a cool thing.
Yeah,
that's a really cool thing to do.
Yeah, he's building he's building from the ground up, from the small legislature, state Senate seats, governorships, Secretary of State of states. So
Secretary of State of states.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think states have secretaries of state.
Yeah, they do.
But I get what you're saying. I think that's
a
really cool.
DMV today, and there's a picture of a guy named Jesse Stonewall or something like that, like Secretary of State.
Right.
For the Illinois Secretary of State.
That's just a really cool thing to do. I don't want to go back, but one of the things that Obama said in his farewell speech was, get out from behind the computer and get involved in the political process. Which, considering he basically won both of his terms off of social media, and Trump won his term mainly from social media. Let's not bash the use of computer in the political process, but B. This just kind of goes back to your point, is there's a lot of Democrats in the party that, talk about it, but then you got guys like Mr. Bernie Sanders from Vermont who be about it to steal the parlance. I mean, it's easy to say, yeah, we want to get young people involved in the political process, and then in parentheses, by voting for the rich old white people that we put up. But then it's a different thing to say we want to get young people involved in the political process by helping them win small elections and showing them how the process works. Mm-hmm. I think it's a cool thing. I think somebody on the Republican side should do that because, I mean, obviously, competition. But I mean, if you have Bernie Sanders out there grooming the next generation of politicians, well, we know what kind of policies are gonna get put through.
Yeah, it's inevitable, But what do you think about his run if he's going to run in 2020? What do you think?
I think I like your idea of him endorsing someone else, just because he is of an advanced age, and I don't want to be ageist here, but I think that he's 72 now. So another 4 years, so he's 76.
He's 74, but Donald Trump is 70, so it's only a 4-year difference.
Right, but okay, so you're saying, I mean, in 4 years though, Bernie Sanders will be almost 80.
78, yeah.
Yeah, that is really up there. I almost feel like it would be. I think it would be better for him. Let's take everything else out of it. It would be better for him to just endorse someone because the presidency takes a toll on people. Remember what Barack Obama and George W. Bush and Bill Clinton looked like before they were president?
Yeah.
And now look at them now. Donald Trump is going to be a wreck after these next 4 years. Yeah. And if he gets re-election after another 4, he's going to look like he's 90. So
now here's what could happen. If Bernie wins the presidency, if he picks a good vice president, maybe like Elizabeth Warren or something like that, he could.
You keep saying Elizabeth Warren.
He said, and that's the name that's been most floated around. But if he does die in office, I could see someone like Elizabeth Warren taking over. I think he has that in mind. I think Bernie Sanders would be so committed to the values that he has that he would die in office to be able to help the American people.
I think he could select someone to kind of run that platform. Mm-hmm. Though, I mean, let's be honest. Politics is generally speaking younger man's game. I mean, you look at Hillary Clinton with her health issues that were reported on. Although we don't know exactly the extent of it, but look how it affected her campaign. She wasn't able to campaign as hard as Trump. She wasn't able to get to as many states, to as many rallies as Trump, and it hurt her in the long run.
Yeah.
So I mean, God forbid. I don't wish ill on anyone, but God forbid, Bernie Sanders, he develops some disease or there's an ailment linked to his age. I think for him to act as an advisor to someone who's younger, it might even be a good idea to run somebody like who's just at 35 or 36, that really
I don't think someone like that could run. That would be too young because experience is a big thing.
Yeah, JFK, man.
JFK was like early 40s though, wasn't he?
No, he was in his late 30s. He was, I want to say, like 37 or 38. I mean, I can look it up, but I remember he was very young.
JFK.
But I mean, even if we are saying early 40s, I mean that's still you're still very vital, in your early 40s to be able to campaign at that level. And then you have, Bernie Sanders as an advisor helping out in like policy positions. I mean that would be a good thing. I think that would be ideal. If I was crafting the Democratic strategy, I would say do that. If you can't run Bernie in 2020, run someone who he has picked, because otherwise you're going to get trumped again.
Now, think of think of this story. Bernie Sanders wins the presidency, dies in office as a martyr. Basically, be like this guy.
Okay.
No, listen, I'm not talking about like assassinated. I'm saying he was so adamant about his policy positions, he would die in office, and work as hard as he possibly could for as long as he could for the policies and the things that he wanted. That would resonate so much with the American people. People that would bring people to tears. They could make a movie out of that.
Yeah, I don't know. Didn't FDR die in office?
Yeah, he died.
No.
He did die in office.
He did.
He was on his third term.
I don't know. I don't want a president who might die in office. I'm just gonna say that as an American citizen, I want a president that can live out his full term.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, typically vice president picks aren't the greatest. Let's look at this current presidency. Would you want something to happen to Donald Trump when we get stuck with Mike Pence?
Well, I will say that
No,
Obama,
you don't. Nobody
Obama
does.
did
Nobody
pick
wants
a
Mike
decent
Pence as
vice president.
president.
I like Joe Biden. I really like Joe Biden.
I like Joe Biden too, but I like Joe Biden because he's so super memeable. He would not be a good president. Man was out of his gourd. Like, what? Like, as much as people talk about Trump just saying stuff off the cuff, Joe Biden is worse.
I'm sorry. I can't agree with you. Joe Biden's just such a likable guy. He's
so likable. What?
He's so likable, man. I mean, come on. You just look at him.
They're gonna put you all back in chains. Come on. I can't say he's funny. I give you that much. He's funny, but he's not likable. Obama is definitely the likable one in that pairing.
I guess the meme culture kind of got to me a little bit for it, but
I mean, it's kind of the thing that everybody said. You could have a beer with Obama. Yeah, you could. I mean, but Biden, if I was going out to have a beer with Obama and he was like, "Hey, my buddy Joe's gonna come along," I'd be like, "Does he have to though?"
Does he have to?
Like, I was really hoping we could just kind of vibe, just me and you.
Yeah, right.
Oh, he's in the car already. Cool. Yeah, Joe Biden. He strikes me as the guy who, if he's your wingman when you're talking to a girl, he'll say something really embarrassing and then laugh about it the rest of the night, and you'll just be looking at us like, Joe, God damn it. This is why we don't invite you out.
Well, I think we've talked about everything we really need to talk about.
And some things we didn't need to really talk about.
Well, we hit a lot of the major points. We hit a lot of the Obama speech and a lot of the Trump presser, and we even threw a little bit of the Bernie Sanders 2020 run in there.
Yeah, I feel like talking about the potential Bernie Sanders 2020 run is going to be a recurring theme.
I think it is
on this show.
By
the time it comes around, we'll have an entire strategy mapped out for him. And
oh my god!
Listen.
Oh my god! No, I hate to reference the Young Turks again, but the Young Turks viewership went up 500% because they covered the election so well. That happened to be the only place I looked at election coverage because their election coverage was so good.
I mean, all the way up until that election. I watched the Young Turks on election night because I loved watching them melt down. Surprise, surprise! I'm not a big Young Turks fan. I was in that same boat as they were. Oh no. Oh.
I had the same
feelings.
No,
I will say though, as my final thought, this election cycle was really good for alternative media because I guess the Young Turks saw a lot of their viewership go up, but a lot of on the conservative side, you saw a lot of that alternative media go up too. You got people like Steven Crowder and Tommy Lauren. They gained a lot of notoriety and they gained a lot of viewership and a lot of voice through their coverage of this previous election cycle, just because you can't trust the lamestream media anymore. Mm-hmm. They're pushing an agenda and now everybody knows it. Whether you're on the right or the left, if you watch Fox News, you know what you're going to get. If you watch CNN, you know what you're going to get, and you're not going to get really an objective take or a real opinion. You're going to get the party line.
Yeah.
But all right, final thought.
No, I mean, Obama's speech mixed. It'll annoy me a little bit because he talked about progressive policies he didn't really believe in, and Trump scared me a little bit because he basically is bashing the media for not making, for not asking the right questions. but yeah, and
so you said it annoyed you. Did it ill annoy you? Good night, everybody.